So in my previous class, we did this small activity called an icebreaker. So uh, the purpose of that is actually to get to know the students better. So all the students can get to know each other better. But since it's just you and me, I'll just ask you a couple of questions, like very random questions. You can just give a yes or no answer for me. Okay? Just simple questions. Um, right. Okay. So, do you have any siblings? Do you know the meaning of
Yeah,
siblings?
yeah.
Brothers and sisters. Okay. So, um, like how many?
I have one sister. Yeah,
One sister.
younger
Right.
sister.
Okay. So, um, have you planted any trees or flowers or any vegetables during the past year at your home?
Uh, I planted some vegetable
Oh, you did?
plants. Yeah,
Oh, good, good, good. So, what are the vegetables that you planted?
uh, ladies' fingers and chili plants.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
That's all. Right, okay. So are you like staying at your home or are you staying in a boarding place since you're working now?
no, I am at home.
Ah, right, you're at home. Okay. Right. So do you travel to work usually by public transport or by a private vehicle?
On a bike.
Ah, right. So on a private vehicle. Okay. Right. So do you have more than, okay, these are very random questions, okay? So do you have more than thousand, hundred, thousand and 1,500 friends on FB? You can remember. Do you have to search and see if you have more than 1,500 friends on Facebook? Are you on Facebook, by the way?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
should.
yeah.
All right. Okay. So you are in social media. Okay. So that's fine. Right. Okay. It's fine if you don't want to tell. That's okay. Um, right. And moving on then. Um, have you ever been in a fight?
No,
No. Um, do you play sports?
sorry.
Do you play sports?
Yeah, I am playing cricket.
Okay, you play cricket. Have you seen a ghost?
Ghost meaning?
Just, like, so when you watch these horror movies, there are like ghosts in the horror movies and, things like that. So in real life, some people might have seen ghosts. So that way, it's just some very random questions, that's all.
Uh, I don't like movies. Like,
Movies. Okay. You don't like to watch horror movies? Only horror movies or like all
eh,
movies in
all
general?
all movies I don't like.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. That's fine. Right, okay. So those are just very random questions. So I hope like I got to know you a bit better from these questions. So yeah, that's it. So then we can move on to our lesson from now. Right. So by the way, do you have this book? Uh, did you buy a textbook from the institute?
I don't buy a textbook.
You didn't get it, no? Right. Mm, I think you will need to get the book from them, but until then, I can share my screen with you, right? So when you can see the screen when I'm teaching you. Right, okay. Right, so before moving on, I am sorry I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Sonali Fernando, and I'll be a lecturer for the course. And so we will be focusing on, usually when we teach English, we focus on four components: so reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So these are the four components that make up the language. So during this course also, we will be focusing on those four components mostly. So, but especially since this is the operational level, we will also be focusing a bit more on speaking, because like in the professional environment, that's what you have to like practice most of the time. Um, even like even if there are little grammar errors, if you can go in front of a crowd and then speak in English in a way that the others can understand, that will be a plus point for you even doing a job. So that is what we will of course be focusing on the grammar as well. But in addition to that, our focus will be more on the speaking component. Okay. Right. So that's just a rough idea for you about the course. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Right, okay. I think we'll have to skip the first activity actually, because someone has to read the first activity and then you have to answer the questions. But while I'm reading, oh no, I can do this. How about, okay, so can you uh, take maybe a screenshot or like a picture of these questions, or if you want, you can write the questions down. After that, I will be reading you a passage. So you have to answer these questions by listening to what I read. So this is a listening activity. So we are going to start from this activity. Okay. So yes, you can either write down these questions or take a photo, or anything that you like.
Okay, miss.
Right. Okay, so I'll stop sharing now, then I can read it.
Only four questions, miss.
Yes, only four. Okay, so I will be reading the passage 2 times. Okay, so this is the first time. Right. Okay. I never believed in Santa Claus. None of us kids did. Mom and Dad refused to let us. They couldn't afford expensive presents and they didn't want us to think we weren't as good as the other kids who on Christmas morning found all sorts of fancy toys under the tree that were supposedly left by Santa Claus. Dad had lost his job, and when Christmas came that year, we had no money at all. That is this passage. That's a small passage. Right. So I will read it once again. But before that, you can, like, I'll give you a minute. You can go through the questions once more so that it will be easy for you to write the answers when I'm reading.
Okay, Miss, read it again.
Okay. Right. I never believed in Santa Claus. None of us kids did. Mom and Dad refused to let us. They couldn't afford expensive presents and they didn't want us to think we weren't as good as the other kids who on Christmas morning found all sorts of fancy toys under the tree that were supposedly left by Santa Claus. Dad had lost his job, and when Christmas came that year, we had no money at all.
Read it one time, Miss.
Hmm?
Read it one time. This passage.
Okay, okay. Okay, so for some of the answers, you can, like, after listening to the passage, you can um, sometimes guess an answer also, right? Okay. Okay. Right. I never believed in Santa Claus. None of us kids did. Mom and Dad refused to let us. They couldn't afford expensive presents, and they didn't want us to think we weren't as good as the other kids who, on Christmas morning, found all sorts of fancy toys under the tree that were supposedly left by Santa Claus. Dad had lost his job, and when Christmas came that year, we had no money at all.
First two questions. Answer I can't understand.
Okay, that's fine. What about the other two?
Uh, D the question is why did they have no money at all?
Mm,
I think it answer his father's lost his job.
mm,
Uh, last one allow similar word
yes.
in this word is in the passage paragraph.
Yes, in the paragraph when I'm reading.
Allow
That's okay. We can go through it again. So that's what. So in the first two questions, the answers are not given directly in the passage. So that's what I told you. Like sometimes, like you just have to take a guess. Like very indirectly, they give you the answer. Um, so you can. We'll just go from B, like from down to up. So what did the other kids believe, right? So at the start of the passage, it says, I never believed in Santa Claus. None of us kids did, right? So maybe like it's just a family, it could be a poor family. So none of my siblings, my brothers and sisters, none of them believed in Santa Claus, right? But that gives an indirect message that the other kids believed in Santa Claus. Right. So usually the concept of Santa Claus is like is something famous in the world. So other people believe in Santa Claus, other kids believe in it. So that's what it says. So when it says I never believed in Santa Claus, it gives a opposite. We call it a contradictory meaning. So it gives an opposite idea uh, to this generalized idea. So this generalized idea is that there is a Santa Claus who brings gifts, right? So that is the general idea. But when I say I never believed in that, so that means I am telling something opposite to that. I don't believe in that. But the concept is that many people believe in it. Okay, so that's what the answer should be. So when it asks, what did the other kids believe? The other kids believe that uh, Santa Claus brings gifts. That is the general concept. That is general belief in the world. So it actually, the answer is a bit, you have to, it's not directly given in the passage here. It's very indirectly given there. Okay, right. Okay, and the first also, who are the kids in this passage and why did they not believe in Santa Claus? Right. So again, you can say for the kids, it must be a like some poor kids who do not have money, because in this passage they do not exactly say who the kids are, but it gives a hint that these kids are poor. So maybe you can write. There are some poor kids or kids in a poor family. Okay, and the reason why they did not believe in Santa Claus was because at the start it says, like I'll just read the first three sentences once again. I never believed in Santa Claus. None of us kids did. Mom and dad refused to let us. Okay, so do you know the meaning of refuse? So refuse means um, so if you ask from your mother to give like a knife or something, your mother refuses. So that means she does not let you have the knife. Okay. See, she doesn't want to give you the knife. That is what you call refuse. So mom and dad refused to let us. So the answer for that is the parents did not want the children to believe in Santa Claus. That is why from the small ages they did not believe in Santa Claus, because like if the parents had let the children believe in Santa Claus, that means the parents have to give them gifts. So that is the whole concept behind it. Right? So if I believe in Santa Claus, my family members usually gives me gifts. So since the parents were poor, they didn't allow the children to believe in Santa Claus. So that is the reason that they did not believe in Santa Claus from the start. Okay. So yes, so the first two questions, the answers are given very indirectly, but for the next two, it's a bit direct. Okay. Right. And for the final question, you can actually, I'll let you take a look at the passage now. So that way, I think you will be able to sort of have a better idea of the word that should come there. Okay. Right. Right, so I'm going to share the screen once again. Okay, so At the bottom, you can see the passage that I was reading. But once again, in this passage, there are some words that are missing. Okay, right. So again, in this activity, can you try to fill in the blanks here? Okay, so if you can remember the words that I told you, or if you can make sense of the other words, then sometimes you can try to guess the meaning of the missing word. So can you just give it a try? And then afterwards, I will read the original passage once again. And if there is anything missing there, you can fill in the other blanks. So again, you can take just a picture or a screenshot of this and then write only the words that are missing there. Okay, so I never believed in Santa Claus. None of us kids did. Mom and Dad refused to let us. They couldn't afford expensive presents, and they didn't want us to think we weren't as good as the other kids who, on Christmas morning, found all sorts of fancy toys under the tree that were supposedly left by Santa Claus. Dad had lost his job, and when Christmas came that year, we had no money at all.
Yes, please. Read it one time.
Right. I never believed in Santa Claus. None of us kids did. Mom and Dad refused to let us. They couldn't afford expensive presents, and they didn't want us to think we weren't as good as the other kids who, on Christmas morning, found all sorts of fancy toys under the tree that was supposedly left by Santa Claus. Dad had lost his job, and when Christmas came that year, we had no money at all.
Finish.
Okay, so can you tell me the missing words?
First one is Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, refuse.
Mm-hmm.
Third one, presents.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth one, goods of fancy, I think.
We weren't as good as the other kids. Good.
Goods.
Yes.
Uh, Another one, found all
All
sort
sorts of fancy
fancy
toys.
toys. Last
Mhm.
one, money.
Yes, good. Right. So you can take a look at the answers also. It's given here. Okay. Right. So let's move on to the grammar part now. Right. Okay. So here we are going to learn the parts of a speech. Right. So as you know, usually a sentence is the foundation in any language, right? So you use a basic sentence to communicate what you want with another person. So usually in a sentence, you have the subject, verb, and object. Okay, let me just give me a second. Okay, I'll share another screen with you. Right, okay. Uh, okay, are you, your mother tongue is Sinhala, right? Okay, right. Okay, I don't have the Sinhala font, but so I'm just going to use the English font to say Sinhala words, okay? Right. Okay, I'll do it like this. Right, okay, so can you tell me the Sinhala, can you tell me the sentence in Sinhala?
මම ගෙදර යනවා.
Yami කියලා දාමුකෝ. Right, okay. So, if you look at this one, okay. So, I is the person, the main person in that sentence, the person doing that work. Okay, so we call that person the subject of the sentence, right? Okay, so next we have the thing that we are going to do. So this is called the verb in a sentence, right? And next you have the thing that is being done. Okay, so where are we going? We are going home. So this part is called the object in a sentence. Okay, right. So for this pattern we call SVO, subject verb object. Okay, so this is the usual pattern followed in an English sentence. So in English language, this is the main pattern that is being followed, right? Right. So if you take a look at this sentence, once again, Mama is the subject, the person doing this work. So you can just put this. So then Gedara is the thing that is being done. So where are we going? We are going home. එතකොට ගෙදර කියන එක තමයි මෙතන දෙවැනියට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. So in the second place we have the object, right? And yummy is the verb in Sinhala, right? So if you look at this pattern is a bit different from the other pattern. Here we have SOV, subject, object, and verb. Okay, so if you take a look at languages such as Tamil and Hindi and Telugu, these are Asian languages. So all these languages follow a similar pattern, SOV pattern, mainly subject, then object, then verb, right? And many European languages follow the above pattern, SVO, right? So English, French, German, all these languages follow that pattern, right? So that is why it is a bit difficult to translate English to Sinhala or Sinhala to English. Okay, so what we usually do when translating is we translate word by word. We take one word in the English language and then we translate it into the Sinhala language. And then we tell that sentence, right? But imagine if you translate this sentence directly, word by word, sorry, into this pattern. Okay, right. So it should be Mama Yummy Gedara, right? But this is wrong, right? Sorry, right. Something wrong with my mouse. Okay, right. So this is wrong. Okay. So that's this is something like this will not come for the exam and stuff like that, but just keep this in mind. So because of that, it is very important to learn the English sentence pattern. So in that way, it will be easier for you to handle the English language. And you should also remember not to translate word by word from English to Sinhala. The best way to do that is get the idea of the sentence into your head and then try to tell it in English. Okay, so uh, just keep that in mind for a bit. Okay, so this is the basic structure in English, this subject verb object thing. This is the basic structure. Okay, so for this structure, for this subject verb and object, some other things can also be added to make it uh, to give much more information in the sentence. Okay, so now we are going to learn about those things that can be added into the sentence, right? So I'll stop sharing this and let's get back to our do you need to write that down or anything? You can just keep it in mind, right? If you want to write it down, just let me know, okay?
No, I don't want right.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, so once again, back to our book. Right. Can you read uh, from here, this part?
Sorry.
Can you start reading this part, this section,
Okay.
this passage? Can you read it loud, please?
Okay. Uh, Parts of speech are the basic types of words used in English. There are
Mm-hmm.
there are nine of some words are
Then,
not clear, miss.
why is that? There's
Something.
a connection, or is it? Wait, I'll share it again. Okay, is it the same? Is it clear or is it like earlier?
Like earlier.
Oh gosh. Mm,
Okay, I read it.
okay.
Parts of speech are the basic types of words used in English. There are nine of
Then,
them: nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, pronouns, conjunctions, prepositions, uh, interjections, and articles. A, a brief explanation of what the parts of speech do is given below.
right, okay. So those are these parts are the parts that are usually used in a sentence to give more explanation to a sentence and to give a more to give more meaning to a sentence. Okay, right. Okay, so we can look at nouns now. So, as it says on the book, a noun names a person, place, thing, idea, living creature, quality, or an action. So, anything that you can hear, that you can see, um, everything around you is called a noun. Okay, so some examples are given there: farmer, garden, house, thought, tree, kindness, departure. So, there are, right. Okay, so there are many nouns. Given there as examples as well. Okay, so can you tell me about like two, three nouns that you know?
Nouns: dog,
Yes.
cat,
Mm.
trees, buildings, house.
Right, good. Okay. Right. So let's move on to verbs then. So a verb describes an action, doing something, or a state, being something. Right. So examples are walk, work, sleep, think, believe, live, like, and want. Right? So here doing something means doing something physical, like walking and sleeping. So you use your body to do that thing, right? But a state or being something is an action uh, that you do not do with your body, you can say. For example, believe. So believe is something that we do inside our head. We don't use our like muscles or our physical body to do that thing, right? But still it is an action that we are doing. We're believing in something, or we like something. So these are things that happen like in our thoughts and inside our mind, right? But still these actions are also referred to as verbs. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so moving on to adjectives. An adjective describes a noun. It tells you something about the noun. Sorry. Okay, so examples: small, big, green, low, thin, beautiful, pretty, like that. So, for example, you can say, um, okay, there is a flower. Okay, so this is a basic sentence. There is a flower. But you can add more detail to this sentence and say there is a red flower. So the word red describes what kind of a flower that is. So that is what you call an adjective, a word that describes a noun, something like that. Okay, right. So moving on to the adverb. And adverb usually describes a verb, how something is done, and when or where something happened. Example: slowly, efficiently, well, yesterday, today, tomorrow, here, there, everywhere. You can see the words, right? What I'm reading. Sanju, you can see the screen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, so once again, an adjective describes a noun, but an adverb describes a verb, right? So you can say, um, uh, the boy is walking. Okay, so the boy is doing something. But to describe the verb some more, you can say the boy is walking slowly. So the word slowly describes, gives a more description about the verb, how he is walking. So that kind of words are called adverbs, right? Okay, moving on to the next one. Now we have pronouns. Okay, so a pronoun avoids repeating antecedent noun. So that means, so you can say, for example, imagine that you are saying 5 sentences about a boy, right? You can just tell, take the name maybe Jack. Okay, so you can say Jack is living in Colombo. Jack is like 19 years old. Jack is studying or doing a job. So things like that, right? So when you're talking about the same person, you're using that person's name over and over again. You're repeating that person's name, right? But instead of repeating the name, we can use a pronoun. Okay, so you can say Jack is living in Colombo. Then instead of saying the word Jack, you can say he is working or he is studying. Then he has siblings, like that. So he, you, she, it. So these are what you call pronouns, and these words are used uh, to uh, to avoid repeating the same word or the same noun over and over again. Okay, right. Okay, next one, conjunction. So a conjunction joins two words, phrases, or sentences together. Examples: but, so, because, or, and. Right. As it says there, a conjunction. So sometimes there are two different sentences, but you can join these two different sentences. For example, you can say there are bananas and there are oranges. These are two different sentences, but you can join these two sentences by using the word and. You can say there are bananas and oranges. Okay, so you don't need to write more and more words. You can just combine them using one word. So these words that are used to combine sentences are called conjunctions. Okay, right. Okay, next, a preposition, right? So a preposition usually comes before a noun, pronoun, or noun phrase. It joins the noun to some other part of the sentence. Examples: on, in, by, with, under, through, at. Okay, so prepositions are once again words that are used to give more meaning to a sentence. Okay, so for example, you can say, let's say, uh, you can say the ball is there, right? But you can give a more specific information if you say the ball is under the tree. So the word under is used to give a more description about the ball and to give a connection between the position of the ball and the tree, right? So when you tell something like that, you use a preposition. Okay, right. Moving on to interjection. An interjection is an unusual kind of word because it often stands alone. Interjection expresses an emotion, sorry, or surprise, usually followed by exclamation marks. Okay, so these are called exclamation marks, right? So you usually, sorry, you usually use these words um, to to tell that you're surprised about something, or to tell that you're um, to express your emotions, you can say, right? So for example, you can say wow, like oh no, right? So these are, and these words usually come at the start of a sentence most of the time, and they can also used uh, so other words are usually used as a part of a sentence, right? But these words can be used separately. For example, you can say hello, how are you? But you can also use the hello word separate. You can just say hello. You don't need to continue that sentence. So it can be used as a standalone one word, right? So moving on to the next one, I think that's the final one. Okay, article. So this is the basic thing in a sentence again. An article is used to introduce a noun. So the examples of an article are the, and and, right? So when you're usually telling a noun, you say an apple, a boy, a girl. So this article gives the introduction to the noun. Okay, right. So I just like quickly went through that. If you have any issues, just you can ask from me. Right. Okay. So now we have an activity here. Okay. So according to this activity, there should be a word highlighted in a sentence, and you should write what that word is. For example, here it says there should be a better way to organize our activities. Okay, I think there is like a printing error in this activity, and the words are not highlighted. So for this, the highlighted word should be this. Better. Okay, so the word better is an adjective. It gives a description about the noun. The way is the noun. Okay, so like that, I have actually since this is not it is not highlighted there, I have just written down the words that I want you to um, write about. So I will just tell you the words. um, you can, okay, so if you want, you can take a screenshot of this. So when you're doing the activity, you can refer to this table also if you want, just to look at some examples.